Now, you may have heard of Kwanzaa, that celebration that coincides with Christmas and Hanukkah. You may have even been to a Kwanzaa celebration. In the 80s and 90s, Kwanzaa was everywhere. But do you really know what this holiday's about and why it started? Let's jump back a few decades. In 1965, tensions between black communities and law enforcement reached a boiling point, and Los Angeles saw the most violent urban riot in 20 years. As the Watts riots unfolded around him, LA-based PhD student and activist Maulana Karenga saw an opportunity to restore unity in black communities and foster African American cultural institutions, values, and traditions. So in 1966, Karenga created Kwanzaa, with the purpose to help connect black Americans to their African roots and with each other in the face of marginalization. In fact, the name Kwanzaa even comes from a Swahili phrase, matunda ya Kwanzaa, meaning first fruits. Karenga decided that this new holiday should fall in the 7-day period between Christmas and New Year's. He even added a second A on the end of Kwanzaa to represent each of these 7 days. Each day represents a different principle: unity, self-determination, collective responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. During Kwanzaa, Karenga wanted communities to celebrate by gathering together to light candles and to join in a huge communal feast called Karamu, inspired by a Zulu harvest celebration. Every celebration is different, but generally, families come together to light a kinara, read poetry, and dance to traditional African songs. Karenga traveled the country spreading the word about this new holiday. It then gained momentum through schools and colleges, and pretty soon, families started adopting Kwanzaa into their yearly celebrations. At first, many African American Christians were opposed to Kwanzaa, as they didn't want it to be a replacement for Christmas. But as Kwanzaa became more popular in the late 1960s, black churches began to embrace it, and the holiday became a supplement rather than an alternative to Christmas. Some churches even organized Kwanzaa celebrations. But Kwanzaa really took off in the 1970s as the black middle class started to grow. After the 1964 Civil Rights Act outlawed race-based discrimination in employment, the number of African American middle-income earners increased dramatically and continued to grow into the 1980s and 90s. As black families started to move into white suburban areas, they began to feel isolated, and Kwanzaa became a way for them to reconnect to their history and culture. By 1995, the holiday was celebrated by an estimated 10 million Americans, compared to just a few hundred when it was founded. With Kwanzaa's cemented popularity, it didn't take long for corporate America to notice. By the mid-1990s, an entire industry had formed around the holiday. Companies like Heineken even created an advertisement around Kwanzaa's 7 principles. The slogan read, "Unity, purpose, creativity, faith. Heineken beer is proud to celebrate Kwanzaa and everything it stands for." This was something that Karenga had specifically sought to avoid, saying the challenge for the African people is to avoid the problems of commercialization that they've learned from other holidays like Christmas. In fact, one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa is the importance of a self-sustaining, cooperative economy between African Americans, one that emphasizes black-owned businesses and discourages mass commercialization. But Kwanzaa's mass marketing appeal was somewhat short-lived. By the mid-2000s, paraphernalia started to disappear from shelves, and many adherents abandoned the holiday as a yearly tradition. Today, only 2% of Americans are believed to celebrate Kwanzaa, despite the fact that African Americans now make up 13% of the population. After 5 decades, Kwanzaa still stands as an important reminder of the historic challenges that Black America has overcome, and it still remains a uniting force for millions. Kwanzaa emerged out of the fight for equality during the Civil Rights Movement. Of course, social norms in the United States have changed somewhat since the 1960s, but minorities still face greater challenges than their white counterparts. To get a better sense of what discrimination in America looks like, check out this video.
If you're Black in America, you run into bias at a pretty young age. If you walk to school in the morning, you might have to wait longer to cross the street. Drivers stop less frequently for Black pedestrians than for white.
Thanks for watching Seeker Daily. Don't forget to like and subscribe for new videos every day.
Straw map, symbolic of our unity, and represents a firm foundation Kinara, candle holder, a symbol of our African ancestors, the root from which our families and our people evolved.
The Mashuma Saba, 7 candles, 3 red, 3 green, and 1 black, are placed in the Kinara. Each candle represents one of the 7 principles of Nguzo Saba of Kwanzaa.
The Zawadi, gifts. The gifts given during Kwanzaa are acknowledgments of the commitments made and kept during the past year. These gifts should preferably be educational, African, or culturally inspired.
The Mazoa, the fruits and vegetables, symbolic of the rewards of working together.
The Kumecha Emoja, the unity cup. This cup is used to pour the libation.
Uindi, ears of corn. The ears of corn represent the children, the most valued treasure of our race, our hope and our future. Welcome around our Kwanzaa table. Habaragani. Habaragani means what's the news?
When I say Habaragani, your response is the Kwanzaa principle of the day. Today's Kwanzaa principle is Ujamaa.
Habaragani.
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 What is Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa is a holiday that was started by Dr. Malenga Karenga in 1966. The reason that he felt a need to start a brand new holiday was because he felt that African Americans that lived outside of the continent of Africa were detached from the values and the culture of the continent of Africa. And he wanted them to feel good about themselves and to have something that they could connect to make their lives better. Kwanzaa is actually derived from a key Swahili word meaning first harvest. All through the continent of Africa and many other places, people celebrate the harvest. They give thanks for the harvest. So Kwanzaa really means first fruits or harvest time.
Today we celebrate and light the candle for the Kwanzaa principle, Ujamaa, collective work and responsibility, to build and maintain our community together, to make our brothers, sisters, problems, our problems, and solve them together.
Ujamaa, say it, Ujamaa.
Ujamaa.
Cooperative economic.
Cooperative economic.
Urges us to share the working wealth of the world in just and equitable way, and to seek the good life of dignity, decency, and prosperity for everyone. What we want for ourselves, we must want for others. And we begin with our own people and spread outward. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I want the world, my tradition teaches me, our tradition teaches me, that the wealth of the world belongs to all the people of the world.
Yes.
That justice must be for everyone, or it's not justice at all.
That's right.
And that all the great good is shared good. Freedom, a shared good. Justice, a shared good. Sisterhood, brotherhood, family, a shared good. Friendship, a shared good. And if somebody's doing more of it or getting more of it than the other, it ain't real. Rescue me if I'm wrong. Ain't no one-sided love. You know that. Let's talk a little bit about male-female relationship.
No.
Ain't no one-sided love.
No.
What you got, one person loving, one person not loving, and the other one suffering from bondage of the heart. Emotional enslavement. He didn't do me wrong, but I love him. No, you just enslaved. Let's face it. You lost your self-concept. You're looking for yourself on the floor.
Wow.
And you're waiting to be approved by your oppressor. And you've seen that with a people, but you can also have it with a person. You ever seen people wanting the oppressor to approve them?
Yeah.
Well, you can do it as a people, or you can do it as a person. And so what we ask is for a good life of dignity, decency, and prosperity for everyone.
Habaragani. Let us prepare for Harambe. Harambe means pulling together in the spirit of unity and together as family, community, and nation.
We say Harambe 7 times, and on the last time, we say it so the whole universe can hear us.
Harambe! 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 Habaragani.
Habaragani.
Habaragani. We thank you for joining us. We hope you incorporate and practice daily the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Please visit our website, www.shrineonline.com